In the 1960s, something big was happening in the world of cars. American drivers wanted more power, more style, and more speed. Ford, already a popular brand, decided to give them exactly what they wanted. In 1966, they introduced the Ford Galaxie 507-liter, a car that would make a huge impact. It wasn't just another car on the road, it was a statement. With a bigger engine than most cars at the time, the Galaxie 500 quickly became known for its power. Under the hood was a 7-liter V8 engine that could produce 335 horsepower, making it faster and stronger than many other cars of the era. But when the Galaxie 500 was first introduced, there were some questions. Would it really live up to all the hype? Could Ford deliver a car that looked as good as it performed? At first, some people were skeptical. After all, there were already a lot of powerful muscle cars out there. But Ford had a plan. They didn't just want to build a fast car, they wanted to build a car that was comfortable and stylish too. The Galaxie 500 had a sleek design with smooth lines and a bold grille that made it stand out on the road. It wasn't just a car for racing, it was a car people wanted to show off. What made the Galaxie 500 even more exciting was that it wasn't just for the rich. It was affordable, making it possible for regular people to own a car with all that power and style. It wasn't just a car for the wealthy. It was a car for anyone who wanted to experience something special. But the real surprise came when the Galaxie 500 started showing up in places no one expected. It wasn't just a fast car on the street. It was also making its way into racing. People started to realize that the Galaxie 500 wasn't just a big car that looked good. It was a car that could compete with the best of them. Ford had pulled off something unexpected, a car that was both powerful and ready for anything. The Galaxie 500 7-liter wasn't just a car, it was a legend in the making. As the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter began to gain attention, it wasn't just its performance that impressed people, it was the way it changed the game for the entire car industry. At the time, American muscle cars were becoming more and more popular, but Ford had taken a bold step forward. They weren't just making any muscle car, they were making a car that could handle both speed and comfort with ease. What many didn't realize at first was that the 7-liter wasn't just about the engine. Sure, the massive V8 engine made the car roar, but it was the way everything came together that made it so special. Inside the Galaxie 500, Ford had carefully designed a cabin that felt as luxurious as it was powerful. The seats were wide and comfortable, perfect for long drives. The dashboard was simple but modern, making it easy to see all the important information at a glance. Unlike other muscle cars of the time, which could be a bit rough around the edges, the Galaxie 500 offered a smooth ride without losing any of its power. This wasn't just a car you took to the track, it was a car you could drive every day. Whether you were cruising on the highway or driving through town, the Galaxie 500 gave you the thrill of the road without sacrificing comfort. But the real twist came when the critics started to notice. People who had once looked at Ford's full-sized sedans as slow, old-fashioned cars began to see the Galaxie 500 in a whole new light. It wasn't just another car. It was something that could compete with the best. In fact, the Galaxie 500's success in the racing world would catch many by surprise. In a time when lighter, faster cars like the Pontiac GTO and Chevrolet Chevelle were dominating the drag strips, the Galaxie 500 managed to hold its own. It wasn't just fast, it was strategic. Ford had designed it not just to be quick, but to handle like a dream. Its suspension was built to keep the car stable at high speeds, and its steering was precise, giving drivers more control than they might expect from a car of its size. Yet, despite all this success, there was a challenge on the horizon. The muscle car world was changing. By 1967, newer models were starting to flood the market. Chevy, Dodge, and Plymouth all had their own powerful cars, and people were beginning to question whether the Galaxie 500 could keep up. Would it still be able to compete in a rapidly growing and more competitive market? Ford wasn't about to let its flagship muscle car fade into the background. With a few changes and improvements, they made sure the 1967 Galaxie 500 remained just as impressive as its predecessor. In 1967, Ford made some tweaks that took the Galaxie 500 even further. The car's grille got a new, more aggressive look, and the rear end was redesigned to be even sleeker. But it wasn't just about looks. Ford also made subtle changes to improve the car's handling, making it even more fun to drive. With the 7-liter engine still roaring under the hood, the Galaxie 500 was ready to continue its reign as one of the top muscle cars in the country. But just when it seemed like the Galaxie 500 had everything going for it, something unexpected happened. The Galaxie 500, despite all its power and improvements, started to lose some of its shine. The muscle car market was moving toward lighter, faster cars that could dominate the drag strips, and the Galaxie 500's size began to feel like a disadvantage. People wanted more performance and less bulk. Ford knew it needed to adapt, but how could it possibly improve on a car that was already so powerful? The answer came with a shift in focus. Ford began to shift its attention to smaller, lighter cars with more horsepower, setting the stage for the next chapter in muscle car history. And while the Galaxie 500 7-liter might not have been the top contender in the years that followed, it had already made its mark. It had proven that power, style, and comfort could come together in a way that no one expected. By the end of 1967, Ford had moved on to newer projects, but the Galaxie 500 was still remembered as a milestone in automotive history. It wasn't just another car, it was a game changer. Its impact would be felt for years to come, influencing the design and performance of future Ford muscle cars. The Galaxie 500 7-liter may have been retired, but its legacy continued to live on. The car had done exactly what it was meant to do: push the boundaries of what was possible and make people see cars in a whole new light. As time passed, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter slowly faded from the spotlight. Yet its legacy didn't vanish into history as some might have expected. Instead, it grew in strength, becoming a symbol of the golden age of muscle cars. For many, the Galaxie 500 represented more than just an automobile. It was a reminder of a time when driving was an experience, not just a means of transportation. People who had once owned a Galaxie 500 held on to their memories of the powerful engine and smooth ride, telling stories of how the car made them feel like they were in control of the road. Its mix of performance and style had set the bar for what a true American muscle car should be. Surprisingly, the Galaxie 500 7-liter also found a second life in the world of car enthusiasts and collectors. As the years went by, more and more people started to appreciate the significance of the 7-liter model. It wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a classic, one of the true gems of the 1960s. While other muscle cars from that era were being lost to time, the Galaxie 500 was being lovingly restored and kept alive by a new generation of car lovers. The thrill of driving a vintage muscle car like the Galaxie 500 was something that couldn't be replicated, and those who had the privilege of owning one didn't take it for granted. But perhaps the most surprising twist in the story of the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter was its rise in popularity in pop culture. As the muscle car revival picked up steam in the 1990s and 2000s, the Galaxie 500 became a symbol of an era that had long been gone. It started to show up in movies, television shows, and even video games, reminding people of a time when cars weren't just machines. They were a reflection of the freedom and excitement of the open road. The Galaxie 500 wasn't just a car, it was a piece of history, and its story had become woven into the fabric of American culture. Yet even as the Galaxie 500 gained a sort of mythical status, it was still the raw power and driving experience that kept its legacy alive. Anyone lucky enough to get behind the wheel of one could feel it. The engine's roar, the smooth yet powerful acceleration, the weight of the car as it hugged the road. It was as if time had stood still for a moment, and the world of the 1960s had come rushing back. And with that, the twist was clear. The Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter hadn't just been a product of its time. It had become a timeless icon, one that would forever be remembered as a symbol of the muscle car era and all the excitement, passion, and power that came with it. Today, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter remains one of the most celebrated cars of the 1960s. It may not have been the fastest or the lightest, but it was something much more important. It was a car that had the courage to be different, to stand out in a sea of competition, and to redefine what a muscle car could be. It had power, luxury, and style all wrapped into one incredible package. And in a world full of cars that came and went, the Ford Galaxie 507-liter made sure that its story would never be forgotten. As the years went by, the Ford Galaxie 507-liter continued to evolve in the minds of car enthusiasts and collectors. While it had long since been overshadowed by newer, faster models, its impact on the automotive world could never be erased. It wasn't just a car. It was an experience, a moment in time when American cars were at the height of their power and creativity. The Galaxie 500, in all its glory, stood as a testament to the boldness and ambition of the 1960s. What many didn't expect was that as the muscle car era faded in the late 1970s, the 7-liter Galaxie would have a resurgence in the hearts of a different kind of enthusiast, the restorers. These were people who didn't just want to own a classic car, they wanted to bring it back to life. With each restoration, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter was given a new lease on life. Engines were rebuilt, chrome was polished to perfection, and the car's original beauty was restored. The Galaxie 500 wasn't just about horsepower anymore. It was a piece of history, carefully preserved to remind everyone of the era when American cars were kings of the road. But even in the world of classic cars, the Galaxie 500 was unique. It wasn't just a muscle car for the collector. It was a car for anyone who appreciated automotive history. Car shows, auctions, and enthusiast gatherings across the country began to showcase the Galaxie 500 7-liter. For many, it was a dream car, something they had admired from afar and finally had the chance to own. And while the younger generations might not have fully understood the significance of the 7-liter, back in its prime, they were drawn to it for the same reasons their parents and grandparents had been: its power, its presence, and the thrill of the drive. Unexpectedly, the Galaxie 500 7-liter also became a car that people loved to modify. Some enthusiasts kept the car completely stock, preserving its original beauty, while others took the opportunity to tweak and tune the engine, upgrading parts to make the car even more powerful. The 7-liter engine was a canvas for many to express their creativity, turning a classic muscle car into something truly unique. Some swapped in modern performance parts, while others focused on restoring the car's mechanical systems to their former glory. No matter how they modified it, one thing remained clear: the spirit of the original Galaxie 500 7-liter was still very much alive. And then, as if the car's journey had come full circle, the Galaxie 500 7-liter found itself back in the spotlight. The 1960s were long gone, but the muscle car culture had experienced a revival. Car enthusiasts were once again embracing the power and excitement that these cars represented. Classic muscle cars, including the Galaxie 500 7-liter, were being celebrated not just for their history, but for the pure joy of driving them. With its large, commanding presence on the road, the Galaxie 500 7-liter had become more than just a relic of the past. It had become an enduring symbol of what it meant to live in an era where speed, style, and power were everything. In the end, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter wasn't just a car, it was a moment in history. It was the answer to a question that many people didn't even know they had. What happens when raw power, design, and comfort come together in one package? The Galaxie 500 proved that the answer was something extraordinary. Even though the car had been out of production for decades, its influence could still be felt in the world of muscle cars today. It had become a part of the American dream, a symbol of the freedom and adventure that comes with the open road. And as long as there were enthusiasts who appreciated its beauty and power, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter would continue to live on, timeless and unforgettable. As decades passed, the legacy of the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter grew beyond just its physical presence. It had become a symbol of an era, a time when cars were more than just tools for transportation. They were statements of power, style, and freedom. The 7-liter didn't just make a mark in the automotive world, it left an indelible imprint on pop culture and the hearts of those who lived through it. For many, it wasn't just a muscle car. It was an embodiment of youthful rebellion and the spirit of the 1960s, a time when America was on the move, both literally and figuratively. By the 1980s and 1990s, the world had changed. Cars were no longer the gas-guzzling, roaring machines of the past. Newer models, with more advanced technology and better fuel efficiency, had taken over the roads. Yet, as the years went on, nostalgia for the muscle car era began to build. And with it, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter started to regain its status as one of the most revered classic cars of its time. The powerful V8 engine and classic styling made it a perfect candidate for car collectors who wanted a piece of automotive history. Suddenly, the Galaxie 500 was no longer just a car that existed in the past. It had transformed into a timeless treasure. What truly set the Galaxie 500 apart was the fact that it wasn't a car you could just easily forget. Even as the years went on and newer, faster models entered the spotlight, the 7-liter's aura never faded. It became a sought-after prize for those who appreciated its unique blend of power, luxury, and American craftsmanship. It wasn't the fastest muscle car nor the lightest, but it had a charm that few others could match. People who drove it often found themselves in awe of its commanding presence. It felt like the car had a personality, strong, proud, and ready to take on anything. It didn't take long for the Galaxie 500 to make its way into the hearts of younger generations too. As vintage car shows and auction houses began to showcase classic models, the 7-liter once again found itself front and center. The car that had once been the epitome of modern American power now stood as an icon of an earlier time, a time that seemed more carefree, less complicated. Those who had never experienced the 7-liter in its prime began to appreciate it for what it was, a symbol of a golden age in American automotive design. They wanted to see what all the fuss was about, to understand why the car still held such a special place in the hearts of those who had lived with it. For some, owning a Galaxie 500 7-liter became a dream fulfilled, a way to relive the excitement of a bygone era. They spent years searching for one in good condition, sometimes paying hefty prices at auctions or hunting through classic car dealerships. And when they finally found one, the sense of accomplishment was unmatched. Restoring a Galaxie 500 became a passion project for many, a way to connect with the past and preserve a piece of history. Some owners kept their cars exactly as they were, preserving the factory original condition. Others added modern touches, upgrading the engine or suspension to make it even faster or more comfortable. Yet, as the years passed and the muscle car revival hit its peak in the early 2000s, something unexpected happened. The Galaxie 500 7-liter started to earn respect from a new generation of car enthusiasts. They didn't see it as just a piece of nostalgia. They saw it as a classic in its own right, a car that had stood the test of time and remained a symbol of power and performance. It wasn't just a relic of the 1960s, it was a timeless piece of automotive history. And for the young drivers discovering it for the first time, the Galaxie 500 wasn't just a car. They saw it as a gateway to understanding what made the muscle car era so special. Today, the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter stands as more than just a classic muscle car. It's a piece of history, a symbol of a time when cars were more than just transportation. They were an expression of freedom, style, and raw power. The 7-liter's influence can still be felt in the muscle cars of today, as modern automakers look back to the past for inspiration. And while the Ford Galaxie 500 may not be the car of the future, it will always be a part of the past that continues to captivate car enthusiasts and collectors alike. In the end, the story of the Ford Galaxie 500 7-liter is one of surprises, challenges, and triumphs. It started as a bold experiment by Ford to build a car that could combine power and comfort, and it became so much more. It wasn't just about horsepower, it was about the way the car made people feel, about the memories it created, and about how it symbolized the spirit of an entire era. The Galaxie 500 7-liter may have left the production lines long ago, but its influence continues to live on, forever etched in the history of American muscle cars.